It's only right that we start this off by shouting out Joe Cool for not only his work on this artwork, but also for what he did on Doggy Style, because this overall look is just classic. What's up everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're an indie artist looking for an album review and some promo, you can hit up Luke at redmattersite.com. But right now, we are going to talk about this new Game album called 1992. Now, Game has actually kind of flooded the game over the past year or so. He dropped Documentary 2 and 2.5 back in October. That was about 40 tracks. And then just a couple of months ago, he hit us with 2 soundtracks. The Block Wars soundtrack, which I thought was pretty bad. I didn't even bother reviewing it because it just kind of sounded like some leftovers and scraps. And also that Streets of Compton soundtrack, which I thought was a nice surprise. I didn't really expect too much from it, but I thought that was pretty dope. And overall, he's been pretty consistent throughout his career, in my opinion. He has some hits and misses like everyone else, but he's an artist who I generally look forward to checking out because I don't think he's whack. I think he's got some good bars, good beat selection, and I was actually looking forward to hearing this album because I saw that it was really short, only 13 tracks, which usually means you're going to get a lot of quality on there, at least that should be the case. You shouldn't have any filler. And I also saw that he had this classic artwork and that this would be throwing back to the old days. Game was actually going to take it back to when he was a young man coming up in LA in 1992 and tell some of that story. So he definitely does come through with some great storytelling on this one. On some songs like Bompton, Savage Lifestyle, and True Colors, he really goes into detail about his family's gangbanging history, some of the shit he got into when he got caught up in gangbanging. And throughout these songs and this album, you're going to hear a lot of 90s references to things like OJ and that whole thing, I guess I could say. Well, it was a murder and a crazy trial and a chase on the highway and the white Bronco, etc., all that shit. And he also throws back to the LA riots. You're going to pick up on all kinds of little references here and there, which is pretty cool, and it does keep with the concept of this album. But one thing that kind of turned me off about this one is all the overly familiar samples and beats. And even though I do understand that those tie in to this throwback project because he's taken it back in the day, it's just that I've heard these beats so many damn times before. I'm talking about when you hear him rapping over Ice-T's Colors, over DOC's Is It Funky Enough, and also, for another example, Grandmaster Flash's The Message. And obviously it's not that these are bad beats, it's just that they have been overused and oversampled. I've heard them so many times as an 80s baby and someone who came up in the 90s that for me it was kind of boring, and a lot of these samples weren't really flipped in a way that made them that different. You're even going to hear just a soul-to-soul sample that goes on and on the song However Do You Want It. I found that hook kind of repetitive. It borrows from Soul to Soul's track Back to Life. And I think this is something that'll be split for a lot of people. I mean, some people will probably like it and say, oh shit, I remember that. It takes me back. It's some nostalgia. I like how he's bringing that to the occasion. Maybe if you're younger, you won't even recognize all these samples, so it won't be that bad to you. And I'm probably in the minority here, but for me, it just was kind of boring, honestly. There wasn't a whole lot that got me excited with some of these productions on here because it really just sounds like some shit, like I said, like I've heard many, many times before, and in a way that kind of made it feel like a mixtape and not this strong, cohesive concept project that I was hoping for. But I'm definitely not saying this is trash. It's worth checking out. You might like it more than me. And there were some moments on here that I really did enjoy. I like on the song I Grew Up on Wu-Tang, where he's showing love to the Wu-Tang, obviously. And he does make use of some nice samples on this one with Raekwon's vocals and Method Man's vocals from Cream. So that was one instance where I really thought the samples did come through. They sounded nice. And I just like the idea of this track because Game is just this West Coast representer, hard and to the fullest. So it was kind of cool to see him show love to such a legendary hip-hop group out of the East Coast, the Wu-Tang Clan, man. They're legendary all over. So it was cool to see that they had an impact on him over on the West, and obviously they had an impact on everyone all over the world, because here I am, someone who came up in Nova Scotia, and we love Wu-Tang over here. Now, I also like on the song called The Soundtrack, where he's showing love to Dr. Dre and says that the soundtrack to the ghetto was The Chronic, because that album is just a certified classic. That was a soundtrack outside of the ghetto, man. Like I said, I was coming up in Nova Scotia out in the countryside, and we still love that shit. So it goes beyond the ghetto, but obviously I see how that would resonate more with people in the ghetto and also with people in LA, because like Game said, that album had people wanting to braid their hair like Snoop Dogg, dress like Dr. Dre, and all those sorts of things. So that was a dope track, some really smooth smooth and wavy instrumentation on that one as well, and also some nice vocals. I forget what her name is, but I'll put it over here down at the bottom somewhere, and I just thought she sounded really nice. So that was a good track. Obviously 92 Bars was a dope track. That was the one where he just snapped for 92 bars over some nice sample-based production he got at Meek Mill. I already reviewed that, so I'll post my link to that review at the top of the comments section somewhere, and I'll also post my reviews to the documentary 2 and 2.5, which I did with Anthony Fantano. Shout out to the Needle Drop. And I also did Streets of Compton, so I'll post that review too. And the last track I really want to bring up, just because I thought it was the worst track on here, is that All Eyez track with Jeremiah. I know it is a bonus track, but still, man, that was just some generic sex track type of shit, man. There was nothing exciting going on with that one. I guess maybe something for the ladies, something a bit more mainstream, something like that. That's the best way I can describe it, I guess, but I wasn't a fan of that one. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. I don't know, man. Hit me up in the comment section with your thoughts about this album. For me, it's a 3 out of 5, and I think I might have liked this one more if he didn't put out so much music throughout this year, because you are getting a lot of that same gang-banging content. Some of this stuff you might have heard before with his content, and again, some of those beats were just overly familiar for me, but maybe you feel differently. Let me know in the comments section what you think this is as far as a rating, and make sure you do all that good YouTube and social media stuff, man, where you like my videos, you share them, you follow me on Twitter, you retweet the videos, and you especially gotta subscribe to my channel. We are so close to 15K. We might even hit 15K by the time this is up. But either way, get in your questions for my Q&A video. It won't be happening right when I hit 15K because I want to make sure I get a good collection of questions. So drop them here, hit me up on Twitter, whatever you want to do. And hopefully you guys have seen my new logo and cover art as well. Thank you, Akira Aruda, for hooking me up with that. I'll put her Twitter in here somewhere just in case anyone else wants some artwork. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.